Well, I know that, for example, in some of the richest countries, like America, the farmers are some of the richest people in that country.
Yes.
And we see them on tractors and going around. And you have a few tractors too.
Yes. And it's interesting to say that you
know why I said that? Because he said drudgery.
Yes.
So drudgery is no more.
We're moving away from that because 10 years ago when I started off, we had no equipment at all. Today we have.
Why was that so? Is that people were not importing them?
No. There were equipment available, but you probably had one tractor to about 50 hectares or 100 hectares. But today there are mechanization schemes around that my company has also benefited from.
Is it a government initiative?
Some government initiative where agricultural equipment are subsidized. And there's a newer one where there's the Agric Enterprise Hiring and Centers, where a group of people come together, cooperatives, and they co-own equipment to serve a certain community. So in a community where you have 100 hectares to 300 hectare operation, there's an SPO, that's a service provider, who owns 5 tractors, who has the planters, implements as the seed planters, 1 combine harvester, and that just makes life easy.
It's like pooling resources.
Pooling resources together.
So
we all can buy a tractor. Some tractors, 75 horsepower, cost about 4.5 million naira. So depending on the capacity of the equipment you want to buy, so funding becomes a major limitation, and as a result, people don't want to go in that direction. But today, we see more people just say, okay, look, I don't want to farm. I'll just own a center and be a service provider to farmers. And that's taking the drudgery out of it. So all he needs are tractor operators who will come to my farm when I don't own a tractor, help me prepare my land, help me plant my seed, and then I work with minimal labor to actually just do fertilizer application, weed management.
What do you grow?
Cassava, and now we're looking into cocoa.
Oh, wow.
Even the small-scale farmer who are not up to a level to mechanize, because if you can't stump your land, you can't mechanize. There are technologies.
What is stump your land?
The stump your land is to remove those roots. When you've cut the tree, the roots are still there with a little part of the tree coming out. It's called a stump. So when you stump, you are removing them from the soil. So it costs money to do that. It's part of land development. It's only when you do that tractors can enter. Can get in. But there are other small implements like power tillers that can be used to get into there. But a small-scale farmer who still can't get to that level, there are also smaller technologies he can use that makes this drudgery not to be so difficult.
But I guess the point is these days, if people say that we really don't have any option, Dr. Odufan mentioned the fact that demand is higher. That means people are going to be selling more. But the point is it competitive? How do we get, even though demand is high, I don't think chicken that you guys produce is still any cheaper than chicken that's imported.
No, it's not.
They sneak it in. Still.
It's not, yes. A huge
they still sneak
quantity.
It in.
We estimate that the quantities that sneaks into this country is valued at about $5 billion US. And
what's the volume that you guys are selling?
We produce annually 350,000 tons of chicken.
What's the demand?
About 10 billion eggs.
Wow, what's the demand?
Oh, the demand is what is sneaking in plus what we're selling. So
there's still
huge. We have a per capita consumption of chicken of about 2.5 kilos. That means per person per year, it's 1 chicken.
Oh, that's low, isn't it?
Developing countries on average, maybe about 9 kilo. Advanced countries, 25, 26 kilo. So the scope for expansion is unbelievable.
So it's never too much to say, okay, he's a chicken farmer, I can do that. There's room.
No, you can. And if Nigerians, the population continues to grow, the way it's anticipated to grow to maybe 400 million in 2050, then it shows you the opportunities that are available in agriculture. We have to give it serious attention. And I'm quite honestly, a good foundation has been laid by the current Minister of Agriculture, upon which we can develop, the industry.
So Nigerians should be ready that that is one area that we shouldn't let go.
So definitely, because we can't let go. And I think the government, like I mentioned, I think they're doing a lot in terms of putting policies in place to ensure that if the Nigerian market, even the producer in Nigeria actually can compete with even the contemporaries.
Like what, for example?
Well, in the area of importation, like as it is, Nigeria, I think we import almost 4.2 trillion worth of food into this country. You can imagine if that was actually being provided by Nigeria. Yes,
even 20% of 50%.
Yeah, but if that can be provided by Nigerians, that's just a lot of revenues.
So what do we do?
50%.
Yeah. No.
And this is how I look at it. To break it down, I tell people who care to listen, I say, yes, our food import bill has reduced. However, there's a deficit. Yeah. And look at it from this perspective. The average Nigerian spends 100 naira per meal, 300 naira a day. 170 million people. It means that it's an industry that has the potential of over 350 billion daily.
Wow. What I find interesting is that, people say 2015 has been tough. People have been tightening belts every time. There you are, thinking of planning this big event that people are going to come for and spend money.
Yes.
Ain't you worried about that?
In fact, not only worried about people spending money, worried about getting the money to even put together the event. I think I was a little naive at the beginning when I started.
Good for naive, otherwise we won't have fiesta flavors.
Exactly. Thinking that, oh, you know what, I mean, I know people, I know corporates, I'll get the money. It was a tough walk. But I really want to thank our headline sponsor, First Bank, because the first presentation we made to First Bank, they got it.
No, I remember doing a special edition of First Bank, and you were one customer that said, this represents the spirit of First Bank.
Yes, that's
so
right.
I guess because you've been with them, the entrepreneurial
I've been working with First Bank on the events for many years. But apart from that, they just recognize that, as we say, food is the next oil at ISWA. We've done oil, we've done Nollywood. Yes. We know the food business is just amazing. Even for me, in the 9 months of planning this event, I found out so much about the food business, and it is such a huge space. There's so many different sectors of it you could get into. I mean, whether as entrepreneurs, whether as vendors, whether as manufacturers, whether
trainers,
training, whatever it is you want to do.
The good thing about it is we're going to bring one of the top chefs in Nigeria now to join you on set at some point in time. I hope I remember to talk about food being the new oil. I like that.
Indeed.
But
that's our mantra.
If anything at all, what's the biggest thing about this next step you're taking? You understand, you said you're never afraid when you start to think, but when you want to do, then you start to ask yourself, how do you overcome that?
I think that the biggest thing about it is that, when you plan events, people bring their money to you. So they say to you, Eventful, I'd like to do this, and they give you the money. But for the first time, we had to look for the money to plan this event. So we had to look for sponsors. I mean, right now, we've spent a lot of our own money because, we had to start paying for things, way back, because we've got celebrity chefs coming in from South Africa. We need to make the payments in advance for things like that. And so it has actually been the journey of fundraising. Even for me, in all the NGOs I work, I tend to veer away from fundraising. I'm the logistics person. I don't want to be the one asking for money.
WIMBIZ, for example.
No, I do logistics or WIMBIZ. I run from the fundraising. But this time I have had to raise the funds. And it hasn't been easy because it's a difficult terrain right now economically.